Here we go. Doing it live. And are we live? Let's find out. Let's find out where we do it live. Yes, we're live. Where we do it live. Hollywoke Hot Take Live. Welcome to the live stream where we do it live. As always, Little Joan is here, looking very pensive. Good job, Little Joan. Ugh, Little Joan. Little Joan's a little terror. You don't have to live with her, but I do. And she can make my life crazy. But I had a very interesting weekend, so I'll tell you all about it while we wait for some people to drift in here. Oh, what happened this week? Well, I did the American Werewolf podcast where we talked about True Romance. That was a really good one. I was very excited to talk about True Romance. I really like that movie. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it. On Thursday, I went to Sylvan Woods. That's a senior place nearby, not too far. And Saturday was a really interesting one. I went to the Sons of the American Revolution meeting at the Voorhees Library, where they gave me all sorts of prizes. First, I got this cool challenge coin, and the coin has stuff about the Sons of the American Revolution, their emblem. It's really nice. And it's a challenge coin because, oh, Clint Miller's here. Good evening. So Pineys book 21 comes out in July. That is correct. It's done. I have to do the edits. I'll probably do that next week. And yeah. So I think we're on track. Now we got the holiday coming up. July, so it kind of depends on when Vig sends me the cover. If he doesn't send it like a few days before July 4th, I have a double day, July 3rd and 4th, so it'll probably be after the holiday. Anywho, so I got this cool coin, and the challenge is if someone from the Sons of the American Revolution sees you in a bar, they can challenge you. And if you have the coin, if you don't have the coin, you have to buy a round of drinks. If you do have the coin, they have to buy a round of drinks. So I can't forget this coin. I forgot it today already. I also got, very nice, it's always nice to go to these things and get stuff. This is a certificate about the event we had. So that was very nice. It has my name, certificate of appreciation for your presentation, Stories and Legends of South Jersey and the Pine Barrens, to the South Jersey chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution, and the date. So that was very nice. And then I ran into one of the comic creators who was in the mix back when I was pretty active, 93 in fact, when I still had my TV show. And he wrote this comic. It's called Electrical Activity of the Heart, Payback Ashcan. So this is sort of a personal sort of comic. And it takes place, it's about Harlan Ellison, if you know who that is. Harlan was a famous science fiction writer. He's gone now. But back in the day, when I had my TV show, Harlan came to Comic Fest 93 in Philadelphia, and I interviewed him. And it was kind of basically the most famous interview I did. Because Harlan is notoriously, how should I put this, a curmudgeon. And I often tell people it was like putting my face in a fan. And Harlan basically attacked me before I even got to sit down with him. Like, he was talking to somebody, he was doing another interview, and he's like, you know what the problem with comic books today? That guy! And he started pointing at me, and I'm like, I haven't even sat down yet. But the funny part is, this guy Tim, who wrote the comic, actually quoted part of the interview. And so during the interview, Harlan said, it's just that today's generation has no sense of nostalgia. I mean, nostalgia to them is what they had for breakfast. And I said, that's not true at all. I didn't even have breakfast this morning. And he goes, oh, that's very good. That was a lot like humor. Say, like, Harlan wouldn't let you get one in. But he was very funny. And I tried to tell him I was there to promote him. So it was quite a flashback for me. And Tim, the creator, also wrote this book. He gave me a copy of. It's called Ben Franklin for Beginners, and it was written and illustrated by him. So it's got some really nice illustrations and some great sort of basic facts about Ben Franklin, which is a perfect book for me because I have a very short attention span. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. Might have to add Franklin in the mix. Oh, hey, Alex Ogle is here very early at the beginning of the stream, everybody. Evening, bigots. Only stopping in for a minute or two to say hello and catch up with things. I'm going to head out to read more of the Pineys. Oh, thank you, Alex. Tony, the books are fun with charming characters and funny setups. However, please go over your books and fix the multitudinous grammatical errors, as Callum would say. Standards. Yes. Well, I thought about that, and I have tried to fix some of them. But I also thought maybe I shouldn't fix them because people know it's not an AI book if there are that many sort of typos in it. But I don't know. Yeah, I've gone over the book so many times, but I may have uploaded the wrong copy. I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to go over again. Anywho, book 21 coming out in July, and book 20 out now. And so that was a great day. And then today was kind of a whirlwind. My girlfriend, I sort of, I crashed out a little bit on Sunday, day of rest. And I got up, and my girlfriend, she's a go-getter. Like, she has her job, and then she has side hustles. She's constantly on the go. So she had to do this project for a friend yesterday, and it kind of didn't go well. So she called me up for help, and I was like, yeah, I'll come over and help you. And she's like, oh, right now, because she forgot her phone, and she came back and woke me up. Well, I was already awake, but so I went over there, and I had to build this thing. It's a long story. Alex Ogle, wood. Okay, good point about AI, but maybe a note would help. I mean it about the stories and the humor. They're fun. Thank you so much, Alex. So I went over there and I helped with this project, and then my girlfriend was like, oh, why don't I take you out to lunch because you helped me out? And I was like, oh, thanks. And so first we were going to go to this place in Collingswood that we'd been to before, and then she had a hankering for Benihana. And I was like, I don't know, hon. Benihana's a little pricey. She's like, no. I used to go all the time. I really like Benihana. I'm like, okay, I like Benihana too. So we went to Benihana. It was pretty pricey, but it was really good. It was really good. I tried to order cheap, but she was like, no, honey, order something that order the Wagyu. Why don't you order that? And I'm like, okay. So when it actually was a good price for the Wagyu. It was just everything else, like the prices were a little high, I would say. Clint Miller says hello, Alex. And so we did that. Now, at the same time, she bought this table on, the Facebook Marketplace, locally. You buy stuff locally. And she found this great table. And she had been trying to buy stuff before, over the past 2 months, for the house, and just decorating stuff. And a couple of times she got something and the guy didn't get back to her. And one time it was a little sketchy. I said, don't go. And Clint Miller says, vote Restore. Yes. Restore did pretty good. I saw the Lotus Eaters, I saw Sargon's take on it. So anyway, we go to Collingswood and we get this table. And it's a wood table with a marble top that it's not like a big table. It's like an end table. And so the woman's like, oh, thank you. Well, this was my aunt's. I'm glad it's getting a good home. So I'm like carried it to the car, and it's a little heavy. And my girlfriend has a convertible. So she's like, oh, I'll put the top down. We'll put it in the back seat. I said, yeah. So we're lifting it up because I needed a little help because not that it was heavy, it was a little bulky. I didn't want to break it. And then I said, what we need to do is face sort of the marble top toward the back seat, and then that way the legs won't poke in the seat. So we flipped it on its side, and the marble top went bloop and hit the street and shattered into a million pieces. So now I'm looking for a piece of marble to replace the top on the table. So so that happened. But other than that little kerfuffle, great weekend, and bunch of stuff going on this week. I'll tell you about that later. But we're here to talk about movies. It's 7-Eleven. Time to get into the movies, and more importantly, the box office. And Indy Phantom is running late, I guess. But today's box office is very interesting. Of course, Toy Story 5 dominates, 160 million, as predicted. No surprise here. 152 overseas, 312 million. So what's this going to cruise to? I think this will do well. I think this will probably do better than 50% next week. But assuming it does 50, it'll probably be another 160 on top of that. Puts it already about. It'll be over half a billion by next week. And then I don't think it'll quite make $1 billion, but it might, with toy sales and DVDs, platform, that kind of thing. So I think it'll kind of fall short at a pure box office count, kind of like Oppenheimer. But it might just squeak over if it has real legs. And it could. I mean, this is summertime. This is the beginning of the summer. It's a perfect time to release this. People like to take their kids to the movies still, because it's like, it's like 4 or 5 hours out of the house. They get snacks. They have a good time. You don't have to, do too much. You just sort of sit there and watch the thing. It feels like a family day. So a lot of people are still doing that, even as most people aren't really going to the movies. Alex Ogle, damn it, I swear there are squirrels around here committing self-deletion on the power transformers to this building. We get micro power cuts during the summer months. Just had me computer reset. Oh, yeah, that happens here. That does happen here in South Jersey. The squirrels, for some insane reason, do eat through insulation. They like to eat it. And I don't know why. It's not made of food. And they sometimes electrocute themselves on the power lines. And then the guys have to come out here, pull the desiccated squirrel off the power line, and do some minor repairs. It hasn't happened in a while, knock on wood, but it has happened here. Also, in this part of the world, we have air conditioning. Everybody has an air conditioning or some sort of system. So the power grid is constantly running and running and running. Although it's not, knock on wood, it hasn't been too hot. It got super hot right at the beginning. I think it was at the end of May. It almost hit 100 degrees here. And now it's been pretty mild. So hopefully that trend continues. Alex Ogle at Clint Miller. The words of King Jong-un, hero. So Toy Story 5, I think, is set to do well. And what was the budget on this thing? Probably pretty low. I mean, in terms of a big movie like this, probably like 200 million. But it's going to easily make its money, whatever it was. Alex Ogle, the consensus online seems to be that Toy Story 5 is worthy update of Toy Story 2. What happened to MOTU? Critical drinkers said it was good, but everyone else hated it. Masters of the Universe? I think critical drinker is a little generous on certain movies. And I think the problem with Masters of the Universe, it's probably a pretty watchable movie. I think the lead guy went into it with a good attitude, and I even want to kind of support him because of that. But that being said, the movie He-Man was never that big a deal. It just wasn't. People know who He-Man is, but people know a lot of characters from that era. And look, they've done G.I. Joe movies. They don't exactly set the world on fire. And Snake Eyes was a huge character, and like, so what? Mortal Kombat, same thing. How many Mortal Kombat movies have they made? And they just made that Mortal Kombat 2. It didn't do that great. These IPs aren't that popular. And when you add the fact that they were aimed at boys, and Hollywood has done everything in their power to say, oh, this isn't for you, this is for women now. And we know that because they race swap, they gender swap, they put in a bunch of woke messaging and lesbians and this and that, all the rainbow people in the world. That has turned men off of movies, just like the book publishing industry pushed men out of books. And I've talked about this many a time on the stream. The book publishing industry, about 30 years ago, I'll say, maybe a little earlier than that, they looked at the book publishing, and this was the case. About 60% of the audience was women, and about 30 to 40% were men, depending on how you measured it. So there was more money in marketing books to women. Women tended to have more time. They're home with the kids. They have time to knock out a couple of chapters in their favorite romance book. So there was nothing wrong with the book publishers to say, hey, we can make a lot of money here. Let's make some books for women. Nothing wrong with that. The problem is they suddenly started to recruit more and more women in the book publishing industry to the exclusion of men. And they cut out all the men books. And the men books that were left, the IPs were left, they did the same thing to those that they did to video games, movies, comic books. The women came in, mostly the women, and said, oh, this is sexist. I don't want James Bond to have sex with a woman. He should be in love. That's delusional, because women and men think differently, and their fantasies are different, and their entertainment is different. Women tend to like stories about relationships. It doesn't mean they can't read a James Bond novel and enjoy it. It just means that most women, generally speaking, their preference is a story about a relationship. They don't want to see a story about guns and a guy building a building and avenging his friend and doing all this stuff. That's not what women want to see. They want to see relationships. They want to hear what the decor was at the wedding. They want to hear what it was like with Christmas, when all the family got together. They want to hear the relationships between all the relatives, all this stuff that I can't stand in a story. I could do with none of that. Now, men tend to like stories that are action-oriented, where things happen and move forward. So this is why they read James Bond, because James Bond did things. He went on missions, he completed the mission, he got the girl, he shot the bad guy, end of story. Things happened, it moved forward. It wasn't involved that much in the relationship. He'd have some relationships, but it wasn't about that. It was about the mission. The rest of the stuff was mostly secondary. Relationships were secondary. For women, that's primary. For men, it's secondary. The same thing has happened in books and TVs and movies and all that. Mostly because women have come into their own in the workplace. And rather than just say, oh, I'm going to work here too with you and we'll be equals and blah, blah, blah. No, they have something to prove. They take it over and they say, okay, put flowers on everything. And then, rather than say, oh, that didn't work, let's recalibrate here, many of them will deflect and say, it's not my fault the men don't like flowers. The problem is men. And that's a real issue in the corporate world when it comes to books, video games, TV shows, etc. Rather than retool it and say, oh, men don't want this, they will argue and argue and argue until they get their way. And I've had personal experience with this. Writing a book, trying to tell, it was all women. It was just me and a bunch of women on the phone in a conference call, and I'm telling them, no, this isn't what men want. And they're all telling me, you're wrong. I'm the only man on the phone call, and the women on that phone call, insisted they knew what young men wanted better than me. That's the problem in a nutshell. Now, if the opposite happened and it was a bunch of men yelling at a woman, no, no, women don't want romance, how do you think most women would react? They would say, well, that's a bunch of men bullying this poor woman, and not stating the obvious. That's the problem. And this has been the problem in video games, movies, and TV shows and everything. So you can't keep going on like this. It's a real freaking problem. Sorry, I had to rant. Alex Ogle. I hear there's a new Robin Hood that's dark and moody, which makes it sound like rubbish. Yeah, that's it's Hugh Jackman as Robin Hood, and the premise is he is kind of a nasty bad. It's a deconstructed Robin Hood. I would have never greenlit a story like that. Nobody wants to see a dark version of Robin Hood. They want to see something light and fun and adventure-y. But, yeah, what are you going to do? Clint Miller, Little Joan has been as spicy as ever. Alex, I have to say, I'm quite intrigued by the lesbian or bi Miley Alcock. The boomerang-throwing boy from Mad Max struck me more as bestial. Women like stories about relationships, yes, but your Piney stories show how they also like stories about witchcraft that make them more powerful than the patriarchy. Yes, that's a huge selling point in the Pineys. However, there's always a rule in the Pineys. Everything comes with a price. And with witchcraft, it's a big price to pay. So we explore that in book 2. And in other books after that. So the witches represent chaos in literature, and that's what I try to do in the Pineys. And it's not that they're evil, it's just they're crazy. So after a while, the witches, sure, they're very powerful and they live forever, but after a while they just go insane and they just unravel. Clint Miller, I have a difficult time seeing a coven of literati women browbeating Tony. Well, I was on the phone and there wasn't much I could do. And I really wanted the money. And I really wanted the money too. Don't get me wrong, I was trying to butter them up, but they really painted me into a corner. What they wanted me to do is say, you're right, everything you just said is right, I am incredibly wrong, and that's the best idea I ever heard. And I can't do that. I just can't. You know, I can say, okay, if that's what you want, I'll do it. And that's what I eventually did. But even that wasn't good enough. So, unfortunately, we parted ways, and I don't know what they're doing now. But, you know, I have plenty of women who read the Pineys, and I try to portray women in the most realistic light as I can. But, you know, it's still a guy writing it, so I try not to get too deep into the women characters. You know, I have Shelley, I have Joyce, there's Aunt Zola and Christy. So there's not a tremendous amount of female characters, but I try to make them very female. Alex Ogle, Tony buttering up literary feminist. Was this a Prawn Hub video? No, just another day in the life of a ghostwriter. I haven't done any ghostwriting in a long time, probably for that reason. But, you know, these days, ghostwriting's probably dead thanks to AI. Because now you could just get the AI to do 90% of the work, and then you can go through and just edit it. If you're smart, you'll edit it. A lot of these guys, I don't even think edit it, from what I hear. They just go through and say, all right, that sounds like a smutty book. Okay. Alex, Shelley is truly a strong female character. Aunt Christie is scary. Yes. Yeah, they're sort of like the opposite ends of the spectrum of the female characters. You know, Shelley's got her life together and, you know, is on top of things. And Aunt Christie is just a maniac and always was. So we have a lot of great flashbacks with Aunt Christie back in the day, just running amok in South Jersey, which are always fun to write. So, and there are more characters than that. Clint Miller, Joyce and Albie are strong female characters too. Yes, Joyce especially. And I like Albie. I got to bring Albie back again. Albie's fun. I really want to do a story, and I don't know when I'm going to do it, but at some point I'll do it. A future story where Albie's older, and because she's fun. Alex at Clint Miller. I need to read more to get to them. Joyce, I think, is mentioned pretty early on, but doesn't really do anything until about 6. In book 6. She has a big role to play. But yeah, like, and one of the reasons I think a movie like Toy Story, does so well, it's kind of a gender neutral story when you get right down to it, because the focus is on toys and kids, and because of that, it's kind of like it's aimed at an audience that's mostly gender neutral. Like young kids who, at that age, they're not in relationships or anything. So I think that's partly why it works for everybody, because the themes are pretty universal. Although I hear Clint Miller, Joyce is a fire eater. I hear that there's a little girl bossiness because Jessie gets a little more screen time or a lot more screen time than Tim Allen and Tom Hanks's characters. But when you're up to movie 5, you kind of have gone through most of the story with Buzz and Woody, right? In order to mine more story, you really have to sort of shift to either new characters or some of the other side characters, because when you get right down to it, Buzz and Woody just aren't that deep. I can't even believe they've done 5 stories at this point. And one of the other complaints of the movie, and these are pretty nitpicky complaints, obviously, is that unlike the previous movies, the character with the toys didn't age, so they didn't advance it into the future again. Not that far, anyway. But yeah, I would see Toy Story 5. I like the first 4. I think they're all good. I was surprised how much I enjoyed Toy Story 4. It was really good. It got a little dark right towards the end, but it never gets that dark. I was fine with it. I thought it was a solid entry. So I hope they could go out, do this one, and be done, because I would hate to see them keep doing this until they destroy it. So I'm glad this is a good movie, seemingly, and it seems to be doing well. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, there is Disclosure Day, dropping from 1 to 2. That's 62% drop. That is no bueno for Steven Spielberg. A 62% drop is bigger than 50%, ergo, not good. We're at 160 million worldwide on a movie that cost 115. Can we get to break even? Let's do the math. Production budget of 115. You're looking at a $230 million budget. 230 million to break even. You got to add half of the budget, so that's another, say, 55 million. So you're looking at 285. I don't know. It's going to be close. I don't think so. I mean, we're at 17 and it's dropping. Next week, maybe it does 8. Week after that, 4, 2, 1. So 8, 12, 14, 15. Add the weeks in between that month. 15. Let's be generous. Say 50. Add 65 to that. What do you get? You're at 225. You're still not really breaking even. So I don't think this movie makes money. They advertise the hell out of it too, and I think Steven Spielberg really overstepped himself with this movie. I think it was a good strategy for him to come out and talk about it, but I think what he said about it didn't feel very genuine or personal. I think he needed to really make it more personal. Like, Tom Cruise is really good at that. He sounded like a genuine guy who was excited about Maverick. Now, he's an actor and Spielberg's not, so take that for what it's worth. But Alexander Ogle, movie pitch, Toy Story 6. The toys meet a new collection of Warhammer 40K, where the figurines exquisitely painted as well as gray ineffectually war against the charming toys of yesteryear. Sydney Sweeney in a bikini to voice Slaanesh. They did do, what was it, Toy Soldiers? I bet you could do an updated version of Toy Soldiers kind of like that. Have Toy Soldiers, the 40K Warhammer characters, versus the old 80s Toy Soldiers. But, yeah, that's a pretty funny pitch. Clint Miller, Sydney as Slaanesh. Ha. But, yeah, this Disclosure Day, part of the problem with it, it just looks so dated, doesn't it? It's, this was Spielberg's wheelhouse back in the day. Everybody would love this stuff. But now, he was such a filmmaker's icon. Everybody's aped him over the years. So all this kind of stuff, it's been done a million times. Alex Ogle, a friend in Australia, married to a journalist, raved about Disclosure Day, as one might expect. Yeah, I don't know. See, when Spielberg started in the 80s, and this is hard to imagine these days, science fiction and fantasy, that was for nerds. It was totally for nerds. That was a niche thing that nobody got into until Star Wars came around, and then E.T. And then it was unusual, and those were the exceptions rather than the rule. Back in the 80s, most movies that were about science fiction or fantasy bombed or went right to video, and no one other than guys like me would watch them. Heavy metal famously didn't do well, but later became a cult classic. This movie doesn't even have the cult classic vibes. It's just too generic. I think it's his money. I really do. I think he's been rich for so long, he doesn't really have anything to say. Like, if you've been rich for a few years, you can still harken back to the time before you were rich. He's been rich for 30, 40 years. Like, really rich. Like, he's worth $11.5 billion. I don't even have to look it up. I've looked it up so many times this week. $11.5 billion. When you're worth that kind of money, he doesn't even care this thing didn't make any money. He could finance this movie himself. It wouldn't even make a dent in his money at this point. So, he remade West Side Story, for crying out loud. A totally unnecessary remake, in my view. And, obviously that's not really going to be original. You could argue maybe some of the takes were original. I don't think that went over too well. So when you're talking about Disclosure Day, like, what does he have to say? Aliens might be here? You already said that. You already said that with E.T. You already said that with batteries not included. I think there's like Close Encounters. There's like a few more. So, if he had gone back to a true story based on a book, and not for nothing, the last 5 to 10, I think we determined it last weekend, like the last 5 to 10 Spielberg movies are so maudlin and sappy and sentimental. They didn't do well. Alex Ogle, my mother would do ironing while listening to Leonard Bernstein's West Side Story. Yeah, my parents went to go see the original West Side Story in the movie theater. So, and it's considered a classic. You can't remake movies like that. You can't remake Psycho. You can't remake West Side Story. You probably shouldn't remake Jaws. Although I'm sure that's in the works. Maybe you could remake Jaws if there was some major thing, like if you put a new angle on it, right? You'd have to put on a new angle. And then it's not even really a remake. It's like a new angle, right? You could say the shark starts attacking people because they're building wind turbines in the ocean and it's infuriating the animals, and that's why they're attacking people, right? And then you do a whole environmental message or whatever. Not that they would ever do that. But, like, what does Spielberg have to say? What do you have to say when you're worth $11.5 billion? Taxes are high. Capital gains tax. Boy, that's annoying. My butler really pissed me off today. Like, what do you have to say? You don't have any problems. Not really. I mean, they say more money, more problems, but, like, the movie just feels empty. You know, and the Fabelmans, my friend went to go see the Fabelmans. He loved it. That was at least a little more genuine in that it was about Spielberg's family, his early days. Sure, he can still make movies like that, and they kind of hit, but at the same time, they kind of don't, because he's an older guy. He's older than me. You know, who's that for? People who are long gone. You know, if he had made the Fabelmans 30 years ago, it probably would have been a huge hit. Clint Miller, can you think of any movie remake that was superior to the original? There are a few. I mean, the remake of True Grit was really good. I have to give it. I mean, Jeff Bridges is great in it. The whole movie's good. It still kind of was unnecessary, but because when you think about it, the original True Grit starred John Wayne, and John Wayne was like larger than life at that point. He was like at the height of his career, and in some respects, they could have made any cowboy movie and it would have been perfectly fine. You wouldn't even have to call it True Grit. It could have been anything, right? So, remaking True Grit, yeah, you know, maybe it's a little more like the book, or a little more like the original screenplay or whatever. Like, if you have a reason to do a remake, it can work, I think. You know, when they remade Psycho, I forget who did it, but it was a shot-for-shot remake. Like, I can't think of anything more pointless than a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho. Like, what are you even doing? That brings nothing to the table, in my view. Clint Miller, as a Baltimore guy, I like the original Hairspray better than either the play or the movie it's based on. I'm ambivalent about Hairspray. It's fine. I'm not like a musical guy. Alex Ogle, well, West Side Story is a remake of Romeo and Juliet. That's true. The challenge is to come up with a compelling angle. Jaws wasn't compelling because of the shark, but the mayor not admitting it was a problem. Yeah, I would say so. And an amazing cast. Amazing cast back at that time. I mean, Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss. I mean, just an amazing cast. That's a major factor too. And I was saying during the True Romance discussion on the American Werewolf podcast on Wednesday, you know, one of the great things about the movie is there's so many amazing supporting characters in it. So you got James Gandolfini, Brad Pitt, Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper, all these guys. They're not the main characters of the movie. Gary Oldman, they're in it. They do an amazing character, and then they're either killed or that's the end of their scene, and it just moves on. And it's amazing. These days, I feel like people don't see, everybody's writing the screenplay for the project. In other words, very few people in Hollywood are writing screenplays and then saying, hey, will you make my screenplay? Some people are, but they're not making those screenplays. Like even when I went out to LA in the early 90s, I went into I just went into the studio, by the way. I put on khaki pants and a Hawaiian shirt, and I had my scripts, and I just went in there to pitch. And I got into every studio except Disney. Anyhow, I'm in one of the studios. I want to say it's Paramount, but I don't think it was Paramount. I think it was Warner Brothers. And producer said, and I would just go in and say, hey, let me pitch my movies. And she said, okay, come on in. Yeah, I'll let you pitch. So I started pitching all my movies. And she listened to my pitch. She was very nice, very kind. and then said, I need a screenplay for Cheech Marin. And I said, why him? She said, because I'm Cheech Marin's producer, and I'm only looking for screenplays starring him. And I didn't have a screenplay that would have been right for Cheech Marin. I just didn't have one. You know. And on top of that, so if you're writing a screenplay, let's say for Cheech Marin's going to have something to say about it, obviously. Like, you can write one and hand it to his producer, and she could show it to him, but he might say, no, this isn't the one I want to do. For whatever reason, right? It might be like, oh, I don't want to do comedy anymore. I want to be a serious actor. Or, I don't want to be a serious actor. I'm a comedian. Or, science fiction. I don't like science fiction. I mean, that's why everybody in Hollywood is constantly pitching, and they're constantly desperate and constantly writing. So to be out in LA and be a screenwriter is a goddamn nightmare because this is what you're up against, right? So rather than go back home and write a screenplay for Cheech Marin and then rush back to the studio and hand it to him, like, I just said, okay, I have to go somewhere else. But that's not what Hollywood should be doing, right? From Hollywood's perspective, they wanted to market Cheech Marin, but from the perspective of the audience, they want to see something new. It's not like they got to see Cheech Marin in every effing movie. So, but that's true about Romeo and Juliet being a remake, or West Side Story being a remake of Romeo and Juliet. But, you know, it had all the music, so it was a very fresh angle at that time. Alex Ogle, a base take would be a shark attacking swimmers off the East Coast, but the mayor not taking it seriously until a non-white victim is killed. Yeah, you could probably do it. I mean, that would be a new take, right? That would be a totally spot-on take for this era. You'll never get that greenlit, though, and that's, you know, the other problem. The other problem is Hollywood has now this weird gatekeeping system where, oh, okay, if this is an Oscar movie, we need the Rainbow Coalition as your cast. See the Odysee, or else we can't get an Oscar, and therefore we don't want this critically acclaimed screenplay you're trying to push. Or if it's something like more meat and potatoes, like a shark movie, they're gonna want, again, the people they consider stars. So who do they consider stars? Well, Blake Lively was in a shark movie, right? She plays a swimmer trapped out on a rock, and the shark's trying to kill her. Stuff like that. A lot of times, female protagonists right now. I mean, that's what they want. Back in the day, when early 90s or mid 90s, I was pitching X-Files stuff, trying to pitch my stuff that way. I wasn't really writing X-Files stuff. I was writing more comedy, but you have to hit the right producer and the right star and the right everything. Like, there's so many factors. And a lot of times they just won't read your screenplay. And even when it's good, like, I had plenty of producers who'd read my screenplay and go, oh man, this was really good. I want to tell you, it's a really good screenplay. And I'd be like, great, you want to make it? No, I can't make it. I don't have anybody to star in it. I don't have anybody to direct it. The studio will never greenlight it, and blah, blah, blah. And I'd just be like, ah. So this is the problem with Hollywood. Now, should they have greenlit my movies? Well, in my opinion, I think they should have. But what I think Hollywood should be doing is, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be writing screenplays towards particular stars, but they really should not do that exclusively. And that's more of where they are, especially where they're desperate for money. It becomes a machine full of product. And that's a real problem. That's why a lot of movies have always sucked. Because Hollywood gets into a trend, and they dive into the trend, and they go follow it down a rabbit hole until it's absolutely, completely exhausted, like the Hitman trend. How many Hitman movies can you possibly stomach? Well, Hollywood's going to tell you. I think we're maybe finally at the end of that, but they're still making money with them. Clint Miller, good point, Alex. Then a rash of other movies were made where the authorities played down the danger, like Dante's Peak, for example. Alex Ogle, how many of your pitches had Sydney Sweeney in a bikini? You can adapt any of those to fit Cheech Marin or anyone else for that matter. Yeah, Oh, that can be a shortcoming too. I mean, I know you're just making a joke, but like, if you pitch, oh, this movie has Sydney Sweeney in a bikini, and one of their responses must be, oh, we don't have access to Sydney Sweeney, so no. So because a lot of times they're getting pitched by so many different people constantly, they're constantly being swarmed. They'll take any excuse to say no to you. You have to pitch them something they can't say no to, basically. Or they have to be convinced you're like the next coming of, JC in movie form, and that anything you pitch is worth their time. So they really just need an angle to pitch it to the studio to get it greenlit, is what it boils down to. So some people are very imaginative with that. They see a good screenplay and they'll, I've had a couple of producers try to push my screenplays. I had a screenplay. This producer tried to push it. Her strategy was to bake studio execs homemade cookies and send the cookies along with the script. And that got her through a bunch of doors. And we had some play for a while and people looking at the screenplay, but ultimately it didn't work. Alex Ogle, fine, not Sydney Sweeney. Sheesh, I'll accept any low-cost prawn actress. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. I know you're joking around, but... And, unfortunately, because there's so many female execs who are kind of woke, you pitch something like, oh, a hot chick in a bikini, they're going to be like, oh, you're objectifying women. What about people of other body types? And blah, blah, blah. And then you realize you've gone down the wrong path with the wrong studio exec, and she just tells you to get lost or never returns your call. Assuming you can get anywhere close to a call these days. Nobody talks on the phone anymore. The bottom line is making movies is a horror show. Especially now. It's always been a horror show, but my God. Back in the day, I at least could get people on the phone and mail stuff, but now, everything's done via electronics, and you'll never know. Like, imagine mailing out 100 inquiry emails and not getting one answer back. That's what it's like being a screenwriter trying to get, a pitch in, unless you have an agent or whatever, or blah, blah, blah. Sometimes agents can open the doors, but sometimes they open the doors for a while and then you don't make them any money and they just sort of drop you. Anywho, next up, and this is why people make their own movies. Speaking of people making their own movies, Obsession continues to be a juggernaut. $333 million for a movie that cost $1 million. Bravo. Bravo. Alex Ogle, you should look up Charlie Brooker's Screen Wipe. He dissects TV, British TV, his analysis of pushing an idea to execs where the main character is demanded to be a one-eyed cyclops from North Wales. What am I typing? Well, I would suggest that's a little different pitching in the BBC, because the BBC is owned by the British government, and ultimately they're not profit driven than some of the people out in LA. But it sounds interesting. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, Obsession is just, it's in its 38th day, and look at it's still doing $14 million. I got to see this thing. It's doing better than Backrooms. Backrooms kind of cooled off, although it did well. But Obsession, man, people love this movie. This kid's going somewhere. If he keeps this up, I hope he doesn't burn out. So good on him, man. Number 4 is Backrooms. I still want to see Backrooms. $277 million, so not far behind. But it's only in its 24th week, so I wouldn't expect it to make another $100 million by next week. So still did super well for a $10 million movie. You're talking 100 and 200 million. 175 million. I mean, that's a lot of moolah. That's a lot of moolah. 277 million for a $10 million movie. This is the way you make movies, guys. You make a $10 million movie and it's a hit. Why is it a hit? Well, I'm not sure what Obsession, but I know with Backrooms, it's very different. It's a very different concept. It does stuff with your brain in a different way. Disclosure Day, by comparison, is something we've seen multiple times. And this is the difference. Obsession probably is a brand new take, or I don't know. It's got a lot of elements that people like. And really, you always got to have a romance, I think. Although I think Backrooms is probably the exception to that rule. Number 5 is Scary Movie, dropping from 6.7 million. Still doing pretty well. I think this is basically running on the fumes of the previous movies and goodwill. People really want a comedy. So I've heard it's done the best out of all the Scary Movies, but I hear it's not great. So I would totally wait for platform on this if I watch it at all. I haven't seen the other 5. I just was never a Scary Movie guy, but I hate Scream, as you all know. So number 6 is Masters of the Universe, dropping from 5.5 million. No bueno, $100 million for a $170 million production. Wow. That's no bueno. This movie's cooked. It's done. But Amazon doesn't care. The rumors are that they're putting a second one in production. Now, I'll suggest maybe this didn't actually cost $170 million. Maybe this cost a lot less. But somehow, on the books, $170 million. I don't know. And maybe Amazon is somehow shifting, say, their advertising for their platform to the budget of the movie. And thereby, they'll be able to write off the cost. Something like that. I think, Amazon's such a big company anyway. When you're talking about a company that rakes in, let's see how much Amazon is worth as a company. Is it worth $1 trillion? It might be. How much business does Amazon do in a year? Let's ask it that. $716.92 billion. So, if you look at it this way, Masters of the Universe, it cost them $170 billion, allegedly. They made back less than half that. They made back some of it. They'll make back more with the toys. And who knows? There are people who probably started watching movies on Amazon Prime because of Masters of the Universe. So, in the end, it probably cost them, I don't know, let's be generous and say $200 million. Their company's making $716 billion. It's a drop in the bucket for more content on their platform. If anything, if they're making that kind of money, is that all profit? Generated $716 billion net sales for 2025. That's insane. It's just a write-off. So if they can shift, use the Masters of the Universe movie just to advertise the platform, it's a win-win, right? And that's the vibe I'm getting from the articles on this movie regarding Amazon, the business end. But, it's maybe they're planning a series of cartoons and games and toys and other stuff, and they're just going to do 3 movies. They don't care. I mean, look at Rings of Power, right? Rings of Power cost these guys $1 billion, would it be? At $716 billion a year, that's nothing. Although I consider Rings of Power an abomination that never should have been made. This looks like it's at least watchable. So, why didn't people go see it? Again, He-Man has always been a D-tier character. Back in the 80s, we would wait for He-Man to be over, and then the good cartoons would come on. Did people buy He-Man, Castle Grayskull, and toys? Yeah, few of my friends had it. But more of my friends had G.I. Joe and Star Wars. Like, He-Man was considered meh. So, He-Man was the kind of toys that got bought by a kid who was just old enough to have toys. Like, someone who was like 5 or 6 would get He-Man toys. Because you could have bought the kid anything and he'd have been happy just having toys. So, it wasn't like it was a rabid fan base of guys who were like, oh, I love He-Man and I love Beast-Man and I love this character and that character. No. It was just a bunch of kids who had a bunch of colorful toys, and it was fine. You know, I'm not knocking the toys. I'm just saying, like, there wasn't this love like there was for Star Wars characters or any other characters. People wanted to be the characters in Star Trek and Star Wars and other stuff. People just had He-Man toys. They didn't want to be He-Man. Not really. He was kind of a joke, too. And that was the other thing, too. Even if we watched He-Man, we usually made fun of it. The only thing you would say is, I have the power. You'd hold up a bat like you were playing softball. I have the power. And then somebody would smack you in the groin. If you weren't paying attention. Number 7, Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu. 3.9 million. Continues to embarrass movies and Star Wars. 322 million. That's still not enough money to call it profitable, according to the formula. So 165 puts you at 330 to break even, plus the advertising, and they did an S-ton of advertising on this thing. So if anything cost 80 million to advertise, it was this movie. So 80, and that needs like 400 million. So again, Disney might be looking towards their platform. Maybe the toys make up for it. I don't know. Alex Ogle, Transformers actually had a function even if they were a bit cynical. He-Man was just cynical. But 80s toys were the beginning of the end. Yeah, I love the Transformers. The Transformers had a great storyline. Oh, people talked about I talked about the Transformers all the time. I mean, that was amazing, the Transformers. But He-Man, barely a cartoon. It was a cartoon built around the toys. And it showed, in my opinion. All right, now we're getting into some new movies other than Toy Story. Number 8 is Leviticus. 2.7 million. I saw the trailer for this. I did a thing on it. The premise is, it is a demonic possession movie that takes place in a gay conversion camp. Which isn't a bad pitch, but it depends on how you do the movie, right? So, if they go in with the message, it'll suck. If they do just a cool movie that just happens to take place there, it'll be good. Alex Ogle, since George Lucas passed the bowel movement of the prequels, the bounty hunters have lost all their magic. Yeah. And I said this back in the day. Boba Fett, one of the reasons people liked him is because they didn't see him very much. You know, big news back in, I guess, the 90s is when Dark Horse did a Boba Fett comic, and people lost their damn minds because Boba Fett was so insanely popular. And there wasn't much material on Boba Fett, but everything that did come out was considered like, oh my God, I got to get that. But then they did the prequels, and they kind of ruined, in my view, the Boba Fett character. And then they did the sequels, and then they really ruined it. So, the only thing that could save Star Wars would be like adding a completely different alien race or group that wasn't the New Order, wasn't the Empire, wasn't bounty hunters, wasn't droids, wasn't anything that's been seen before. Then maybe you could make Star Wars interesting again. Will they do that? Absolutely not. Why? Because if you pitch that, people will say, well, what are you pitching this for? This isn't Star Wars. Star Wars is droids and Jedi and this and that. If you pitch something different, like if you were to pitch something that was like, you know, the alien from Aliens, they'd be like, no, we don't do that kind of stuff. It's not that kind of thing. You obviously don't understand Star Wars. Get out. And who could pitch that? Only George Lucas can pitch that kind of stuff. And even he probably wouldn't at this point. Alex Ogle, okay, love you, bigots, and leave you. Time to go. Have a great week, Tony and all. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming into the chat. I appreciate it. Number 9, The Death of Robin Hood. Here it is. Alex says, hit like, everyone. Thank you for the reminder. The Death of Robin Hood, 2.6 million. In my opinion, no one wants to see a sad Robin Hood. Look, if Hugh Jackman wants a drama, you can do dramas all day long. Don't take down Robin Hood. Nobody wants to see that. No fan of Robin Hood wants to say, oh, gee, I wonder what Robin Hood would be like if he was sad and pathetic and did a bunch of terrible things. No one wants to see that. No one. There's a million things you could do with Robin Hood. And I've pitched so many variations on Robin Hood, especially at DC Comics. I pitched Green Arrow, building his own Merry Men. I think they finally did that, although I think it was woke. Yeah, I mean, there's a million things you could do with Robin Hood. Seeing him sad is like not even on my list. Number 10 is Michael, dropping from 7 to 10, still making money, 2.1 million. Is this thing going to get to $1 billion? I keep telling you no. And we're at 939. You could keep this thing into theaters for the next 10 years. It's not going to make $1 billion. This is the Oppenheimer effect. You got close. Now, you could maybe make the money in DVD sales and Blu-ray. Maybe. And if there's any other merchandising, and if you count the platform stuff, if you count every little thing, yeah, you might just hit $1 billion. And that's fine, but you're not going to make it in the box office. I mean, everyone who wanted to see this movie has seen it. When it hits the platform, it'll burn up the charts for a while. I'm not quite sure how they can pull the money out of seeing it on a platform. I mean, maybe they could count all the time someone like me pays $19.95 to see the movie if I do that. But I don't think they're counting that yet, or will. Number 11, Girls Like Girls. So, have you had enough lesbians in your movies yet? 1.6 million, which is about where you'd expect it to land. A heartfelt coming-of-age story set over the course of one sun-drenched summer, where a new girl in town, Coley, falls in love for the first time while learning to accept herself along the way. So, yeah. Look, it's fine to make these movies, but you have to acknowledge that they're niche. There's not a big... Nobody's running out to see a movie about lesbians and their relationship, except maybe a small, tiny audience. I don't even know if lesbians want to see that kind of movie, quite frankly. I'm sure a few do, but yeah, I don't think that's the majority necessarily. It's only relatable to a small group of people is the problem. So only a small group of people are going to see it. I can't relate to it. So I'm not going to go see it. It's not for me. It doesn't mean it's a bad movie, but it's got a small audience. So, you know, these Hollywood types who keep making these movies and then get mad when they don't burn up the charts are ridiculous. Because a movie like this can't possibly burn up the charts. Not really. Not if the entire movie hinges on being a lesbian. Now, maybe if there's some other elements here, you could do a movie about two lesbians that everybody would like. But it can't. Usually you can't focus on the relationship. It's not a relationship that most people can relate to. It's just not. Only lesbians can relate to it. Oh, yeah, I remember when I met the first girl I fell in love with. You have issues that are unique to lesbians. And that's going to be in the movie. And again, that's fine, but it's just going to appeal to a limited group of people. There are plenty of people who see this movie and go, I can't relate to this. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not relatable. So, but if you do a movie about two lesbians who rob a bank, and it's mostly about the bank robbery and not about their relationship, yeah. Because the bank robbery is exciting and people can kind of relate to it, but it's not a relatable movie. It's about a bank robbery. Next up, The Furious. $1.1 million. Oh, it started at, it opened last week. Oh, right, it did. I think I remember seeing it now. So it dropped by 60%, unfortunately. But this movie looks crazy bonkers, and I definitely want to see it. $18 million worldwide. Probably didn't cost a tremendous amount of money. But the martial arts looks bonkers in this. Yeah, and it appears to be an Asian chop sake movie, so... judging by the name, Kongu, I think that's Korean. That sounds like a Korean name. So I think it's Korean. It looks bonkers, man. Dude fighting in an arena with a bunch of other dudes, and all he has is a hammer, and he's knocking them out and standing on the bodies, and the pile's getting higher as he's fighting. And he's just fighting one after another. It's bonkers. Looks great. Totally want to say it. Number 13, dropping from 12, The Breadwinner. Slowly eking out of here at $900K. Ned Bargatze doing a sort of a generic family comedy kind of thing. Mr. Mom sort of version. His version of Mr. Mom. I think Mandy Moore plays his wife. It looks harmless, but not something I think people will rush to theaters. I think his fans probably rush to see it. And people who need a good family film. Speaking of, number 14, The Sheep Detectives. Still in theaters after 45 days, $866K. This thing make its money. $75 million, 126. Nah, not gonna make it. Might make up for it in DVD, but doubtful. Did The Breadwinner make money? 25 million. Nope. And that's probably not going to go overseas. Another reason why they don't make comedies. Number 15, The Devil Wears Prada 2. This is a beast. They'll probably make a third one. $707K. Stop That Train. The drag queen movie in its second week, dropping 76%. $487K. Yeah, I wouldn't see this. Number 17, new Greg Allman, The Music of My Soul. Some kind of biopic. Yeah. $374K. Dropping from 15 to 18, Pressure. That is, what's his face? Brendan Fraser as General Ike Eisenhower. Ike D. Eisenhower during the big war. It doesn't look great. Probably end up on A&E in about a month. 16 million. Probably cost a fortune to make this thing. Super Mario Galaxy movie dropping from 16 to 19, 101K. This is going out of theaters. This did crack $1 billion. Just barely. In its 82nd day. I Love Boosters going from 19 to 20, 78K. This movie did not make its money back at all. Won't make its money back. It has no international distribution. I don't know anybody overseas that could relate to a movie about robbing people, and they're the good guys. But we'll see. I don't think they'll release it overseas. It's really feels like a vanity project, in my opinion. 21, Maddie's Secret. 58.2K. This is a I don't know if it's a trans person. I think it's just a comedian doing drag. Not sure why, or if this is supposed to be funny, or it's supposed to be trans, or whatever. I think it's Australian. 22 is a Rose of Nevada, 24K. This is a weird new movie about some guys who go out on a boat, and when they come back, it's 20 years earlier, and there's a boat called the Rose of Nevada that disappeared, and then there's somehow the crew that disappeared 20 years prior, and then the thinking is, are they going to go, are they going to stay? Because obviously if they go, they're going to disappear and not return, or maybe they do reappear 20 years later. I don't know. Kind of weird. 23 is Unidentified. This is kind of a biopic. No, wait. No, that's a different movie. In the Saudi desert, the body of a teenage girl is discovered, but she remains unidentified. So this is sort of a police thriller with a female police detective in Saudi Arabia. 15K. I thought this was a true story or based in a true story. I don't know. Maybe that was in the trailer. I didn't see the trailer fully. I think I saw part of it. Might look at that for a trailer thing later. I don't know. I don't know how realistic it is that a woman is doing investigative work in Saudi Arabia. Next up, Peter Asher, Everywhere Man, $9,500. So it's some kind of biopic. I've never heard of this guy. Then there's The Python Hunt, $4,002, about hunting pythons in the Everglades, I believe. And at the bottom, Underland, $363, a documentary about the world beneath our feet. Underground, made 147K. Oof. Well, it's a documentary. They're not expected to make a lot of money, and that's it. The total box office: $228,936,581. So, and more than half of that is the first. Let's say, yeah, about over 200 of that is the first 5 movies. So yeah, it's all the money's up top. But you know, it is the summer, so at least we're over 200 million. Next week's going to be really interesting because Supergirl opens, and I expect that movie to tank. And it's got another week for Miley Alcock to open her big mouth and say something stupid. I mean, so far she said what? The most recent thing she said, she suggested that maybe Supergirl is non-binary or bi or part of the queer community. I think she was just trying to entice that community to see her movie. But what she doesn't understand is that community, number one, is very small. Number two, I don't think most people whether they're queer or not, whatever queer means, the rainbow community, I don't think people like being pandered to. So I think it's mostly a turnoff for everybody in that community as well. And number three, I think it's also a turnoff for the rank and file fans who just want a movie, just want a Supergirl movie that's not embarrassing, right? Now, I'm not a huge Supergirl fan. I'm a fan of DC Comics, but, you know, Supergirl would have been like one of the last characters I would have thought to adapt into a movie. Actually, I probably would have picked Power Girl before I picked Supergirl, because they already made that movie back in 1984 and it didn't do too well. So, you know, Tom King's new take on it isn't particularly great in my view. And if you're going by the comics, Hollywood, you got a sad, sad lesson to learn. Again. First, you wouldn't listen to the comics, but for some reason you take the comics lead creatively at the wrong times, at the absolute wrong times. You know, there are classic Marvel and DC stories that haven't been touched yet, that should be done if you're going to do superheroes. But unfortunately, Hollywood just seems to skip them over. All right, let's move on to the trades. First up, Fandom Pulse. Ironheart is dead, and Ryan Coogler just made the X-Files reboot a lot more complicated. Well, the upside to that is I hear he is not doing a reboot or reimagining of the X-Files. He's doing different characters, and I think it may even be a sequel, which is what I would do. Put 2 new characters in the X-Files room, and then you could always bring back David Duchovny or Gillian Anderson for a cameo, and it'll all be great. Ironheart, how is this even a discussion? Why would you even, for a second, think, oh, maybe we should bring back that show that nobody watched and everybody kind of made fun of? No. This is a character that they couldn't even sell in a comic. Again, girls don't like superheroes. It doesn't matter that she's diverse or whatever. Women don't buy comics. They never bought comics. You could fire every man who's ever written and drawn a comic and replace them all with women, and what you'll get is a bunch of comics that still won't sell. Because women don't buy superhero comics. Now, do they buy any comics? There are a few comics they've bought over the years. They love, I can tell you, they love Archie and Veronica and Betty. They love that triangle because, again, it's about a relationship. I know that some of the girls like cute comics about cute little animals. A lot of the adult comic female fans love the adult comics. The very, very smutty ones. But none of that superhero. None of that interests them. They've tried many times over the years. Now, are there exceptions to the rules? Sure, there are some fangirls who love superheroes and they love Wonder Woman and Aquaman and everybody. They love it all. There are some who like horror comics. You know, you got a bunch of horror fans. They love Tales from the Crypt comics. But they're the exception, not the rule. Most comics are owned by guys. They collect them. They love reading them. These days, nobody's reading them. New comics are dead. You know, I talked about in a couple other videos how I read this article about Spawn 77 that's coming out, and they talked about the covers and the art and everything except the story. So that shows you where comics are these days. Nobody seems to give a crap about the story anymore. Therefore, nobody's reading them. They're buying them as collectibles, and that's a guy thing too. How many women are buying a bunch of comic books so they can have them in a plastic wrap to sit in their basement? Not a lot. There are a few, but it's mostly guys. They collect them. They buy and sell them. They're like cheap stock. So just give it up. Just stop trying to make this stuff for women. If you want to make stuff for women, go ahead. But there are plenty of books out there, plenty of IPs out there. Barbie was one of them. There's a million IPs for women. Go adapt one of them. Stop trying to force them into superhero. Stop. Castelia House just finished Japan's Greatest Adventure series. Now they're translating its Sherlock Holmes. Excuse me. This is not Sherlock Holmes, but a character who is Japanese who is like Sherlock Holmes. It sounds very interesting to me. I'd be interested in reading that. Dragonsteel says the Eye of the World Leatherbound is fixed, but the Reddit thread says otherwise. I'm not sure the controversy has something to do with Brandon Sanderson's books. I don't know. I don't trust anything I read on Reddit. Every time Miley Icock opens her mouth, Supergirl's opening weekend gets smaller. Yeah, somebody should pull her aside and say, please stop talking about your politics, the gender preferences of Supergirl. Stop talking about gender. Stop talking about... Just say, oh, I had a great time on the movie. It's great to work with Jason Momoa, and we hung out on the set, and he's a great guy. I think fans will love this movie. Like, say a bunch of nonsense. Say a bunch of vapid nonsense about the movie that everybody wants to hear. And don't talk about, oh, I think Supergirl is non-binary. No, don't say that. How, are you trying to set fire to your career? I know you think you're totally immune to it, but there have been cases in which people can't get work after a while. Embattled IDW editor Heather Antos calls for a boycott of new work from the greatest X-Men artist of all time. That, of course, is John Byrne. Why? Because Heather Antos, in my view, is just jealous of the talented people. I don't think she's talented. I don't know how she keeps failing up in comics. I don't know why anybody would hire her to write a comic, but it keeps happening. It's part of the problem with the comic book industry, in my opinion. People like Heather Antos, I wouldn't hire. I just wouldn't hire. Especially IPs like the big two. I would say, no, go off and make your, gender comics, and there's no place for them in mainstream comics. There's just not. It's guys. The audience is guys. You can go to all the Comic Cons you want, do all the panel discussions. You know who's going to show up? No guys. They're just not going to show up. A handful will show up. They've been browbeat by their girlfriend or whatever. They're into the identity politics too. But no, it's mostly going to be girls who are angry that the patriarchy is holding them down or something. There you go. In my opinion. All right, moving on. Variety. Toy Story 5 scores year's biggest debut. Yeah. It's good. Netflix, A24, and Focus pass on Luca Guadagnino's Artificial as Mumbai circles. Okay. Aubrey Plaza says Kevin is canceled at Amazon after first season. Very disappointing since we were just getting going. Wow. What is Kevin? Is that cat show? Yeah. It's a cat cartoon. I don't know what to tell you. Democrat senators urge FCC to block closing of Paramount Warner Brothers merger until review of deal's foreign investment concludes. I doubt that will happen. Pippi Longstockings animated series in the works with Studio Canal, Heyday Films, Media One, Submarine, and Astrid Lindgren Company. That, could be good, or it could be for modern audiences. Mark is here. Good grief. Cat shows on Amazon? Yes, there are. Yui Bowl says Army Hammer film Citizen Vigilante has been banned in Germany for inciting violence against migrants, but insists I am not a bad guy from Germany. Yes, that's exactly what these people want you to say, Yui. You should not address them. You should absolutely not address that. You should say, you know, what is Germany? Why does Germany have a problem with a movie? Mark, Pippi Longstocking, submarine captain. Probably will be the next thing. Minions and Monsters. It's coming out, I think. I don't think it's out yet. Let's see. Criminal Minds star Paget Brewster tells TV journalists to work at a shelter after mixed review, sparking outrage from other critics. To work at a shelter. Okay. I'm not sure why she's telling him that. What the heck's going on outside? I'm hearing a noise. Iowa anchor Dustin Nolan calls out sanitized news as he quits on air in emotional sign-off. We have to take people out of their bubbles. I agree. Not going to happen on mainstream news. Mark, George Lucas has given his voice to Minions but has never appeared in a Star Wars project. Probably for the best. I don't think George is a good actor. He doesn't strike me as a guy who would be a good actor. Like Minions is kind of perfect, or like any animated things, because they could just, record its voice and adjust it. Or he could just record 7 takes and they just use the best one. Richard Gere turned down the agency before signing on to play CIA bureau chief after rewrites. When Bosco walks in the room, he's the boss and everyone has to acknowledge that. I don't care what you do, Richard Gere. Weren't you over in Spain complaining about how terrible America is? Who cares? Now you're going to play a CIA guy? That's a bit of a conflict of interest, isn't it? Let me get this straight. You're going on and on about how, America's so terrible. Oh, you want me to play a CIA guy that does terrible things? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Well, how much? Why don't you tell him to go stuff it? Unless you can do all the lecturing. Joe Meir Hobbs is here. Hello, Joe. Hi. SZA slams disgusting musicians using AI. Says platforms like Suno train on the best and brightest black minds of writers and producers. What about the other minds of people who do music? It's a bit specific. Some guys are doing some pretty interesting work, though, with that AI, I gotta say. The Kraken, he loves that. He loves making songs in AI. Oh, he's making songs all day long. Concert goer falls to death during Goose Show at Madison Square Garden. How the hell did he get up high enough to fall to his death? Aardman teases new Pokemon Timmy series, The Almost Untold Story of Danger Delilah, Aardman Academy, and looks back at 50 years of clay animation at ANSI. So I guess there's a new Pokemon thing, weebs. So enjoy that. Over at Bounding into Comics, Grand Theft Auto 6 pre-orders confirmed for June 25th. Halo Boss confirmed rumors over Tom Cruise voicing Master Chief. He didn't want to take over for the guy who had been doing it, basically. So that's good. I respect Cruise for saying that, and it's a smart move. Fans complain when you cut out the guy whose voice you've been hearing in the game for God knows how long. Over at the Hollywood Reporter, LA Sparks versus New York Liberty, how to stream WNBA's 30th anniversary game online. No thanks. Again, you can keep trying to make the WNBA a thing, I guess. I don't even think the NBA is much of a thing anymore, other than the people who are long, diehard fans of the game, but Sure, you can keep pushing the ladies if you want. Call me when they're all hot and in bikinis. Then I might watch your stupid sport. How RuPaul turned Drag Race into an Emmy juggernaut. I can tell you how he did it. He did it like this. Hi, I'm a drag queen. And everybody in Hollywood went, we got to give you awards. Because we'll look like great people for doing it. Come on in. Let's give you 30 seasons of Drag Race. Game Changer built a fandom on chaos. Now Dropout wants Emmy voters to notice. Mark, high heels for slam dunks. That's right. Legally Blonde stars unite for first time in 25 years ahead of Elle prequel. Don't care. What happens when Finding Your Roots uncovers a famous family secret too big to air? They probably don't air it. Did a 54-year-old nonprofit worker just use AI to become the next Charlie Kaufman? I don't know. Did he? Oh, okay. It's AI film. So, cool. Hey, look, it's going to happen. People are going to start making AI films. Everybody's going to start making them. I'm going to make one eventually. It's not quite there yet for me. It's got to be easier. It's not quite there. I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to computers. I need a new computer. Number one, like I desperately need a new computer, and I'm not ready to do that yet. But after I get a new computer, that's probably going to be it. I might try it this Christmas. Christmas is my downtime, like Christmas, January into February. So if I get some downtime and I get a new computer by then, I might try to make a Pineys. I'll at least make some Pineys shorts, but I might try to make the whole first book in a movie, but we'll see. Mark, AI films are coming and are already here to stay. Yep. I don't think Hellgrind is the one, though. That didn't look great. Netflix wins Sesame Street movie rights. Oh, boy. Well, I can't wait to hear the pronouns of the Muppets. So that should be another thing we talk about. Here's George Lucas casting Minions and Monsters after revealing love for Minions. How Netflix Little House on the Prairie brings its pioneering Black Doctor to the screen. Oh, come on. I'm pretty sure that wasn't a main character in the original Little House on the Prairie. Just because the actor's black doesn't mean you have to like... Oh, everybody stop. We're bringing in a black doctor. We're bringing in a black character to Little House on the Prairie, everybody. Everybody stop. Polish an Emmy up because we have a black guy. Like, this is 2026. We've seen stuff with black characters in it. This is nothing new. Mark, will your shorts be animated or simulated live action? My goal is to do simulated live action. I already did. Here, I'll show you the one I did. It's sort of a combo of the two. Let me think. How can I get to this without taking a million years? Hemingway. Hunting. I'll put my name in. Should come up. Yeah, here it is. I don't have any music, so I think I can play the sound. So this is Hunting Deer with Hemingway. This is me as Hemingway from the Pineys. So this I just shot myself with a phone.
Hemingway Galloway, world's greatest hunter. I know I haven't made a video in a while, but my cousins made me promise not to make any more videos unless it was me hunting deer. Well, I found the perfect deer. Remember, folks, aim for the heart.
See?
Hey, Trophy, you're going up on the wall.
And that's it. So the effects were done by Grok. So that was a Grok, little short. So Grok can do the monsters in the Pines, the devils. So I made one that looked kind of like a deer, like a mutant deer. You could see the arms and the horns and that kind of stuff. Mark, that deer has guns. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So that's the kind of thing I eventually want to do if I can get it to work. So obviously the lighting is off and the timing's a little off, but it was as close as I could get under my current sort of structure, without like spending 6 months working on it. So hopefully in a couple of, maybe this year, I can do one that's a little more, solid. Ultimately what I'd like to do is scan myself in, scan in other people who I want to be in it, and then just move them around and make them do whatever the hell I want. So we'll see. I'll try to do like a short first, obviously. Terrifier star Catherine Corcoran named Raindance Film Festival's first horror ambassador. Oh, good for you. I don't know what that is. Over at Bleeding Fool, New York Times comic essay drags Father's Day into the culture war. My daughter, my gender was never complicated. My daughter, my gender was never complicated. Huh? Oh, so how long have you had breasts for, Dad? So is a trans person and their kid, is that what it's about? I don't even want to know. Universal just revealed a fan favorite Horror Nights experience. Yeah, it's going to be the Stranger Things. Spielberg's next big project faces doubt after Disclosures Day. LeMay is here. Hi, LeMay. What? Yeah, exactly. I didn't quite understand it. I don't want to know. I don't want to know, LeMay. I don't want to click on the article. All right, here's Spielberg's next big project faces doubt over Disclosure Day, as well it should. I mean, when factoring in the marketing expenses, it's believed to be about 100 million to break-even point rises to 230 million or more. Given the current worldwide gross of 94 million, the film is significantly short a break-even point of nearly 140 million. Yeah, the movie's just going to lose money. So, Spielberg, what is he doing? He's producing a new sci-fi project. It's fine for him to produce. He's a perfect producer. He has lots of money. A guy like him, he should be a producer. So, then his job is just to go, did this make money? Okay, great. Let's do another one. Oh, it did make money? All right, no, fire that guy. Let's get a new guy. So, I don't know why, it was probably too much. It was probably a big risk for him to make another movie, quite frankly. Mark, how long have you had breasts for, Dad? What kind of grammar is that? I don't know. I'm reading the balloon. All right, now I'm going to look at it. Okay, here we go. Let's read some of the... I don't even like the art on this. Okay. Oh, right, that's nice, but I don't actually tell everyone I'm trans. I save that for special people. Oh, don't worry. I didn't tell them you were trans. So, yeah, it's a trans dad. So I assume it was a woman. Now, here's the panel I read. They can move between complex topics. How long did you have breasts for, Dad? So that's just weird. It's just weird. I mean, look. So you had this kid, then you switched genders, and now the kid is asking, maybe I'll get my breast removed too. I don't like that. But whatever. You can't grow a beard, you're a girl. My dad did, and he was a girl, although moving past it was hard sometimes. Yeah, like... I just, look, I don't care about trans people. If they want to be trans, that's fine. But when you bring in kids into the equation, you really should think about the kids first. Was it absolutely crucial you transition before your kid was older, right? Old enough to go, okay, yeah, my dad's trans, no big deal, or whatever. Or my mom has become my dad. Like, why do it when the kid's little? I just think that's too much for a kid. It's too much. I mean, I'm glad your kid seems to be adjusted, at least in the comic. But now your kid's going to get into conversations like that in school. Yeah, it's not a great conversation. Kids shouldn't be having that conversation. They should just be playing. They shouldn't have to be worrying about whether my dad has breasts or my dad is my mom. I mean, they shouldn't be doing that. I feel bad for the kid. But if the kid has a happy home life, fine. Somebody's doing something outside. Sony's Spider-Man Brand New Day pre-sales break records. I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. Over at Deadline. Paget Brewster apologizes for telling TV journalist, "You suck. Shame on me." Well, I would say never apologize to a journalist, but that's just me. Never explain, never apologize. Here's more of Maddie's secret. Cooks at IFC Center with Greg Allman Doc. Girls Like Girls, Leviticus. So, imagine that GLAAD complained there wasn't more gay stuff in movies. So, Maddie's secret is at least a guy in drag. He might be trans. I don't know. Girls Like Girls, that's lesbians. Leviticus takes place at a gay conversion camp. So you've got 3 out of 4 movies in the specialty box office that appeal, that or have the rainbow people in them. And imagine being GLAAD and saying, it's still not enough. That Greg Allman, he wasn't gay, but you could make him gay in the biopic. Then you'd have 4 out of 4 gay movies. It's like, what the hell, man? All right, moving on to Cosmic Book News. Disney takedowns confirm Avengers Doomsday leak, Chaos, Doom, X-Men, and more. So is anybody interested in this leak? It kind of leaked, but kind of nobody cares. So that appears to be... Who's that blue guy? Is that supposed to be, what's his face? The teleporter guy? I forgot his name already. Not Cyclops. Who's the guy who teleports? Oh, you know the guy I'm talking about. So maybe that's the X-Men in a shot. There looks like Doctor Doom's picture. Maybe another Doctor Doom. Okay. I guess. I'll wait for the nerds to weigh in. I'll wait for Neurotic to weigh in on this before I even think about saying it. Nightcrawler, thank you. God, I couldn't think of his name. Doesn't look like Nightcrawler totally. Nightcrawler doesn't have blonde hair. He has black hair. Maybe it's not him. Famke Janssen is not in Avengers Doomsday. Is it because of Sadie Sink? Probably. It's a shame. She should probably get to be in it. They put all the other Fox guys in it, right? Supergirl's IMAX screens could be at risk as Toy Story 5 dominates. Yeah, Kick her off. Toy Story 5's a juggernaut. What are you going to put Supergirl up there for? No, Masters of the Universe isn't set for a sequel. The reality. Okay, so maybe they're not that stupid. Mark, hair race swapped Nightcrawler. Oh, God. Absolute Batman anime rumor heats up Comic-Con. So don't care about that. Supergirl tracking for next week, 39 million low. Ooh. Yeah, and if they don't tell Miley Alcock to shut her mouth, it's going to track at 28 million. Fans want Adrienne Jonah as Wonder Woman, not wasted on Maxima. I don't know. She's pretty short in general. Look how tiny she is. You need like a giant woman for Maxima and probably Wonder Woman. I don't think she's tall enough, honestly. And Maxima is supposed to have big red flowing hair. Aaron Paul joins DC's Clayface as first test screening reaction surface. So this is looking good, apparently. But I won't see it because I've had enough of not Batman entertainment. So let's see. Gotham, not Batman. The Joker movies, not Batman. The Pennyworth, the TV series about the butler of Batman, not Batman. The Penguin, not Batman. The Catwoman movies, not Batman. How much more not Batman entertainment are you going to do? There's rumors of a Poison Ivy movie. Clint Miller, Nightcrawler is the blue guy. Thank you. So Clayface is the latest not Batman entertainment. Henry Cavill teases his Highlander reboot at Royal Ascot. Everyone's going to enjoy it. I'm rooting for you, Henry. I like Henry. He respects the creators, but I really don't think we needed a reboot. I mean, you could argue that the sequels were terrible and that maybe he could make the sequels better, but I think I had enough. Mark, who asked for a Clayface movie? No one. Absolutely no one. I mean, I like Clayface. It would be great if it was Clayface and Batman. Oh, I'd watch that. I'd watch that in a hot minute. Oh, but we're going to see the origin of Clayface. No Batman. So imagine the pitch meeting, right? Hey, I've got a great new pitch. Oh, let me hear it. Well, you ever hear of the Batman villain Clayface? Oh, have I? I love Clayface. Oh, great. Well, this is all about Clayface. Oh, you're great. And when does Batman come and fight him? Oh, that's it. He doesn't come in. So it's just about Clayface. Yeah. But people only like Clayface because he's a Batman villain. Oh, yeah, but we don't want Batman. We don't? No. No. We're going to make people want Clayface. But won't they wonder where Batman is? I mean, it's insane. You have insane people running these companies, in my view. It's like they decided, oh, we're going to do a reboot of Mayberry. But we're gonna do a show about the town drunk. Oh, great. So there's the Andy Griffith character and the Don Knotts character and the Ron Howard character going to be in it? No. Well, how is that Mayberry? It's just going to be about the drunk guy. We're expanding the Mayberry universe. You don't understand. I have another pitch. Oh, I don't know if I want to hear this. No. This is a Three's Company. Is this another Three's Company universe spinoff? Yes, it is. It's called Mr. Farley. And it's about Mr. Farley, the landlord. Wait a minute. Well, is Jack and the hot girls going to be in it? Oh, no, they're not going to be in it at all. It's going to be about the early days of Mr. Farley. Who the F would want to see that? Mark, next thing you know, we'll have a Madam Web movie without Spider-Man. Yeah, exactly. How well did that go? How well did that go? Sony is desperate to spit off IPs, and apparently so is Warner Brothers. It's like they can't just do Batman. Like, they could easily make $1 billion if they just said to Robert Pattinson, listen, we want to do a 1-hour Batman show, 10 episodes in a year, starring you, and we're going to introduce all the Batman villains. Now, if you did it this way, you might potentially have a movie in one of those villains, right? You could introduce a guy like Clayface, have him fight Batman, and then maybe there's more story to him. I don't know. You certainly could do Batman Beyond. You certainly could build up to Batman Beyond, which is a thing that people want. You could certainly do a spin-off with Robin, a spin-off with Batgirl, possibly Catwoman. Catwoman's never really worked out. But the character that everybody likes is Batman. I mean, here's how stupid they are. The Shadow's just sitting there and nobody's doing the Shadow. I mean, the Shadow is Batman. I mean, Batman was basically a knockoff of the Shadow. So, the Shadow's just sitting there. Nobody's using them. They could do the Shadow tomorrow. But they're not. I mean, Zorro's kind of like Batman. They're kind of doing more Zorro. Doc Savage is just sitting there. I mean, they've got IPs that are just sitting there, is my point. The not Batman thing drives me insane. It really does. From the Wrap, I don't think there's anything new here. 11 great dad movies streaming on Father's Day. All right, let's see if these are any good. The Hunt for Red October. Yep, I would say that's good. Solid dad movie. Top Gun Maverick. Solid. Yep. Ford versus Ferrari. I would agree. I haven't seen it, but I would guess that it's probably pretty solid with all the cars in it. Mission Impossible franchise. Yeah, I don't like the first two movies at all. I hated the first movie. The fourth movie was okay. I enjoyed that. I haven't watched any more. I watched the first. I might have watched some of the second, but man, I can't believe it lasted as long as it did, quite frankly. Sicario, yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. That's pretty intense. Mark, a Shadow movie set in the 30s or in modern day? You go either way with it. I mean, I think the 30s, now that Spider Noir came out, you might have a shot at it. DC 4 years from now, it does everything Marvel did, 4 years ago. But, if you wanted to be authentic, sure, you do the 30s. If you wanted to be more modern, I mean, you could do a new take on it. Black Bag, nah. I don't think this is a dad thing. Nah. Two relationship. Father of the Bride, what are you, nuts? No. That's for girls. That's a girl movie. John Q. I assume it's some sort of action movie with Denzel Washington. I didn't see this one, so probably. Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. Absolutely dad movie. That's dad all over. The Pursuit of Happiness? Yeah, maybe. Big Daddy? I don't know. Does that movie do anything? I don't know if that's any good. Maybe. Did you just pick that because it had Daddy in the title? And that's the end. That wasn't the worst list they ever put in the Wrap, I'll say. That Park Place. Kiki's Delivery Service getting a live-action series based on original books. I don't know. Who's doing it is the question. Mark. Taken is the best dad movie. That's a great dad movie. Yeah. Taken. For my dad, it's The Godfather 1 and 2. Not 3. Let's see. BBC Studios. That's DOA. No thanks. BBC doing it. I can't wait to see the pronouns of the Kiki and all her friends. Let's see. The View co-host attacked Joy Behar for treating J.D. Vance like a human being this week. Hilarious. You get what you effing deserve with your audience. In Hollywood in Toto, how crazy will Rosie O'Donnell get as Kimmel's replacement? Pretty damn crazy, I'm guessing. She's not completely replacing him. Apparently he's going on hiatus, but you never know. Maybe he's just taking an extended vacation. Maybe he's taking a regular vacation. Rosie O'Donnell, I'm sure, will spend the first week excoriating Trump as she always does in her videos. And good luck getting ratings on that. The one movie Hollywood would never ever make? Yeah, it's Citizen Vigilante. I might have to see this thing. It looks pretty cool. Mark, Rosie will be fired faster than Chevy Chase was. I don't know. ABC didn't bother to fire Jimmy, and they had an opportunity to get rid of him and save a ton of money and replace him with somebody like anybody else, right? They could have made a clean break, gotten rid of Jimmy, paid him out, and replaced him with a young stand-up comic and say, listen, we don't want any more politics in the show. And then just started fresh. Probably would have been a ratings bonanza. Probably would have buried Fallon in a couple of weeks. But whatever. You're going to trot out Rosie O'Donnell. I think this will be the last days of the show, quite frankly. This could kill the Kimmel show. And wouldn't that be great? And I don't think they'll fire her. They absolutely will not fire her. She'll even cross a line and they'll still won't fire her. That would be my prediction. I don't think she'll cross a line, though, because she's just boring. She just says over and over again how evil Trump is. That's it. And it's just boring. Like Kimmel, he tries to do jokes, and that's where he gets into trouble. Like Rosie isn't doing jokes at all. Like, I don't even think Rosie was a stand-up comic, was she? I think she was just an actress. So she'll just come out and rant about Trump. Let's see. This is Geeks and Gamers. More on Toy Story. Ubisoft co-founder Claude Guillemot died in a plane crash at 69. R.I.P. He was flying the plane, by the way. One of those little planes. You couldn't pay me to get in one of those planes. It's a shame. Over at Breitbart, what's going on over there? Leading UN Secretary General candidate Macky Sall backs peace builder Donald Trump's push for reforms, make the UN great again. I say, let's just pull out of the UN and let it die, but that does sound very appealing to Trump, I'm guessing. We'll see what he does. Poll, 78% of Americans want conflict with Iran to end now. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, man. I think he's squeezing them again. So, if he can keep the gas prices down, it doesn't matter. That's the only thing that matters in terms of the midterms, I think. But oh, and the big news in the UK, congratulations, all the Lotus eaters. Keir Starmer to resign. So that's probably a good thing. Mark, Rosie was a pretty successful stand-up comic then and made the move to hosting late-night stand-up shows. Really? I don't remember her being a stand-up, but okay. I mean, because to me, like, I know Colbert wasn't a stand-up, but he was very funny back in the day, and he still has I mean, you could see, like, just below the surface, if he just hit a switch, he could turn the funny back on. Rosie, I mean, I don't know. I haven't laughed at the thing she's done, but, and like, she's way too old to be doing it. Like, you're gonna bring her all the way back to Ireland just to piss off Trump? I think that's got to kill your ratings, right? but we'll see. Oh, here she is again. Rosie O'Donnell, Trump will use an assassination attempt or a terrorist bombing to cancel midterms. We are past the precipice, America. She better not say this stuff on the show or she will get fired, but I don't think she will. It's kind of like when somebody's running for office and they're running in the primary, and during the primary they say outrageous things, but then during the general election they have to broaden their base and try to woo in the independents and people from the other side, and then they back off of everything. So I think the moment Rosie gets in the seat, she sort of backs off a little bit, but we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe she doesn't care. Maybe she'll just get fired on the first day and go back to Ireland. Mark Hamill had an orgasmic reaction to Obama's presidential center speeches. The Obamas, both of them, did a speech. Master oratory. So that's Mark Hamill. Supernatural star, deeply ashamed of America during Pride Month. Trans rights should be conservative rallying call. I'll give you a minute to hold your sides. Yeah, I mean, first off, I didn't know a damn thing about this dude's politics until this article dropped, and now I'm just like, what? Usually, when an actor does this, it means somebody in his family's trans, and he's kind of protecting them, like Pedro Pascal. You know, Pedro Pascal suddenly came out with a bunch of statements about trans people, and then, like, I think his cousin's trans, or I don't know. But this guy, I mean, I had heard of him because everybody talks about the Supernatural show in relation to the Pineys, but now it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Who wanted to hear this? Oh, and here you got D.L. Hewley. He hates Trump so much. He hates Trump so much, I can't believe he hasn't been on The View yet. Like, as one of the hosts. So he didn't like UFC freedom and 250. America hates black people way more than it hates pedos. PDFs, apparently. Dude, that's like an extreme statement. It really is. Maybe he's too extreme even for ABC. I don't know. More dreadful predictions for Supergirl. What else? Oh, this was weird. Kevin Bacon encourages eating beans on Wednesdays in a new ad. On Wednesdays, I'm Kevin Bean. Isn't that weird? Suddenly promoting beans? I don't know why. Is he a vegetarian? Maybe he is. James Burrows died this week. He created Cheers and Friends. He was 85. R.I.P. Grammy-nominated mega producer Tay Keith found dead at 29. Oh my God. He was found dead, but information about his death hasn't been made public. That's in Nashville. No foul play is suspected. Oh. Then what could that be, I wonder? That's way too young. So you'd have to think either he was suffering from some kind of disease or he had a problem that nobody knew about. All right, let's take a quick peek at the New York Post, and then I got to wrap this up. No more tough talk, or more tough talk from Trump. Fed up, Trump threatens to blow the S out of Iran, prompting Tehran to storm out of U.S. peace talks. Good luck with that. Let's see. GM just replaced more than 1,000 workers with 50 robots. So, adios, jobs. Former mayor goes viral, revealing World Cup outfit. Can't just take them off? Okay. Not sure what's going on there. Iranian fans defy FIFA ban against forbidden flags. Flood stadium during World Cup clash with Belgium. Well, you can get away with that stuff in Belgium. Uh-oh. This sounds sad. I'm going to skip this one. The mystery blonde behind Trump's cryptic post and who her great daughter is. I don't care about that. This is Parachute Dude. Daredevil base jumpers caught illegally leaping off of Yosemite's deadly El Capitan. Oh, no. Well, as long as they didn't die, I guess. Bunny XO. I never heard of this woman before Jelly Roll was getting divorced. Shows off curves and plunging top during girls' night out amid Jelly Roll divorce. She's on the market, gentlemen. Okay. Nicole Kidman. I don't care. Terrifying video captures moment California fisherwoman is sucked into the ocean by a massive sneaker wave. This has been happening for the last 2 weeks. People have been swept out to sea. It happened in Ocean City, and a couple places on the Jersey Shore, and it's happened like 3 or 4 times in California. What the hell's going on? There's a bunch of people asleep on the beach. They got sucked right out to sea. It's incredible. I mean, I'm not sure what the tides are like in California. I know what they're like here. They're not that strong, but I mean, if you're sleeping on the beach, stay away from the damn water, will you? And I'm not sure why you would want to sleep on the beach. Sounds sandy and itchy. More Iranian women are defying the regime's hijab law, risking brutal wrath of morality police. Good luck, ladies. These are real protesters, by the way. I think that's about it. Final design for New York City's Penn Station redevelopment. I mean, it looks nice. One step closer, including how much it would cost. Oh, I'm sure a whole lot of money. I'm sure like an insane amount of money, just so people could graffiti it up and have homeless people pee on it. Mark, didn't the ocean suck out that prophet in the Odysee? Could be a publicity stunt. I didn't know that, did they? I don't remember that part of the Odysee. World Cup tourists aren't leaving tips, and New York City restaurants are fighting back. Guys, you got to leave tips. You're in America now. Hate to tell you, it's 20%. 20% if you liked it. 10% if you really had a problem. Nothing if you never want to go there again. Say F you, leave nothing and go, I guess. But kind of like 18% minimum, 20s considered good, decent. 25 if you're really raving about it, or 30. Some people push for 30. I think that's outrageous. Conflict erupts in Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah just hours after two sides reach critical truce, because this is what happens every effing time. So enjoy that, I guess. Chewing sugary gum after eating certain veggies is good for your heart. Who knew? Mark, a prophet says, don't bring the horse into the city, then whoosh. Oh, interesting. Obama Presidential Center files widely mocked stolen land acknowledgement with Native American dance show. Look, stop. It's just embarrassing, man. Like, if Obama was Native American, maybe, yeah, sure. But, come on, man. And what does this really do for anybody? You know, at some point, somebody from the tribe's going to come out with a statement. Yeah, we did that dance at the thing, and you know what? I got kicked out of the library, or I or they never paid us or whatever. There's a whole bunch of black contractors apparently didn't get paid for working on this thing. The people are complaining. So why are you going to do this virtue signaling crap? Here's the Legally Blonde stars celebrating the 25th anniversary. Jennifer Coolidge in the background there. Got to say, Reese Witherspoon looking good. Looking real good. Same thing with Selma Blair. They held up great. Oh my God. Inside Israel's intimidating Iron Dome is a nation simply fighting for survival? Wow, that is a big missile. Look at that thing. Kelly Osbourne describes ache of missing late dad Ozzy on first Father's Day since his death. It's only been that, man, it seems like it was forever ago when Ozzy passed. Holy cow. It's been less than a year since Ozzy died? Man, I feel like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes since then. Wait, what's this? Hold up. Tony Long Island town where no one wants to be mayor-elect, or no one wants to be mayor, elects a man who wasn't even on ballot. Bayville? That's weird, isn't it? Imagine you wake up one day and you get a phone call. You're mayor. What are you talking about? I'm mayor. I just live here. No. We elected you mayor. You got to be mayor now. I think that's the way probably it should be. You know? I think it should be random. You have to serve. It should be like jury duty. Oh, I have to be mayor? I mean, that way you won't probably cut down on the amount of bribes these guys take. Probably, you know, then you just want to do it and get out of there. I mean, can he just say, no, I don't want to be mayor? Britney Spears says she wants to have another baby. Somebody check in on Britney. Wellness check, wellness check. Here's Sydney Sweeney being Sydney Sweeney with her new boyfriend. Jane Seymour, 75, reveals her secret to aging naturally. No lasers, no fillers. Jane Seymour was so hot back in the day. She looks pretty good for 75, I gotta say. Back in the day, man, Jane Seymour. She was hot. And finally, world's oldest living land animal. It is not Jane Seymour. A 194-year-old tortoise honored with prestigious award. Well, when you've lived 194 years, eventually you got to get an award. I mean, come on. All right, I think I got to wrap it here. I'm going to eat some delicious leftover Benihana's food. But before I go, I'll tell you about what's coming up for me. But what did we learn today? I think we learned the box office is not doing too well except for Toy Story. Definitely Star Wars is down the tubes. And what was the other thing down the tubes? I forget. Scary Movie, Masters of the Universe, Disclosure Day. Right, we talked about Disclosure Day. Talked a lot about Spielberg today. And but I think Toy Story is still holding up. Talked about a lot of gay movies that are out. A lot of gay movies coming out. Talked about the usual trade stuff. And yeah, got into it about a turtle at the end. And Jane Seymour, of course, and Sydney Sweeney in a bikini. We had a visit from Alex Ogle early on, which was very unusual. Very unusual. But I do want to tell you about my week coming up. All right. So on Monday, I'll be at the Medford Senior Residence Apartments in Medford, New Jersey at 2 p.m. for How to Hunt the Jersey Devil. On Wednesday, I've got two events. In the morning, I'll be at Louise E. Moore Senior Center in Haleyville, New Jersey at 10 a.m. for How to Hunt the Jersey Devil. Then I'll be at the Swedesboro Library at 6:30 p.m. for How to Hunt the Jersey Devil. That's all on Wednesday. On the 25th, Thursday, in the morning, or no, in the afternoon, I'm doing at 2 p.m. Taunton Run, and I'll be doing the Pirates of the Pines. I gotta bone up on my pirates. Then at Same day, Thursday at 6 p.m., I'll be at the Stratford Library for Ghost of the Pine. So I got 2 new talks I'm doing on the same day. Then on, I think it's Friday? No, Saturday. This is a big one. I'm doing Tales and Ales at 333's Brewery in Hamilton from 12 to 5. And then finally, on the 28th, I will be doing the Brutal Dudes podcast at 8 p.m. Now, that's a Sunday, so that's going to probably go to 9. So I'm not sure when I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do this podcast, which normally goes off then. So I'll put it to you guys if anybody wants to weigh in. Should I do it on Monday? Should I do it late on Sunday? Like, should I start? I'll probably get done at 9, right? So I could probably start it by like 9:30. That would be pretty late to do it. Is anybody up that late? I don't know. On a Sunday? Probably not. Maybe I'll do it on Monday, or I could do it on Saturday. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. We'll see. We'll see. If anybody has any thoughts, put them in the comments. Give me an upvote on your way out. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you in the next one.